Hello and welcome to Loaded Mag Reaction. Not a great reaction. We thought this was going to be better up to 88 minutes. If you don't know the result, don't look at Pete's face. Um, but it'll give it away. But before we start, we have to start on a positive note. There's only a handful of positives we can take from tonight, but we have the return of Avon. Really should have some intro music here, but the return of Avon. Welcome back, Chris.
Hello, boys. How we doing?
Great
Evening,
to have you
mate.
back. Great to have you back.
Yeah, do you know what, mate? Great to be back. Couple of things I want to say. So firstly, great to be back. As I say, I've missed you all. And thanks to to all the well wishes from everybody. I wish I was coming back on a brighter note. Got to be honest. But I know we're going to get into the match. But yeah, just wanted to say, lads, you've been doing a fantastic job, and some of the shows you've been belting out recently have just been unbelievable. But yeah, great to be back.
Cool. Great to have you back, Chris.
Cheers,
Yeah, we've given Martin the night off, so yeah, he'll be around terrorizing people somewhere else tonight. But let's go before we get into the chat about the match. Just want to kind of walk through it. So a few notes from the game. First of all, the team sheet. Wood got his debut, and Dummett was back. Here's the Watford squad as well. Yeah, as I said, nice to see Chris Wood get his debut, and more importantly, I think for me as well, Dummett back. Then we had a great display from War Flags, and a really impressive one as well for Joe Linton, J7. So yeah, we got into the game then, and the first half, few early mistakes, kind of lunging challenge from Shelby as well. We got a yellow card for that one, if you remember. Joe hit the bar at one stage. ASM was losing the ball, a bit wasteful in the first half. There was the chance for Wood. Corner resulted out of that. Then there was the chance for a Big Joe again. Then we got to half time and we were 0-0. So then immediately after the break, we got a goal. ASM with he's scored this goal a few times now, where he robbed the ball, jinked inside and put it in the back of the net. Cue the celebration, which happy days. We thought we were all onto a winner and onto a good positive weekend. We'll stick with the positive notes for a second, because it was a great reception then on the 69th minute for Dave Harrison. So yeah, that was mentioned on the TV, and yeah, great to see everyone clapping and giving Dave a clap for everyone. So thanks to everyone for that. Delighted to see that. Fast forward in the game. Yeah, the Dubs, Dubrovka was there when he needed to be. At times it was nervy. Watford on the break. Lascelles fucked up a few times. Pass at one stage nearly resulted in a goal. Then we're just kind of trying to see out the game, really. And then we're hit with the sucker punch on the 88th minute with an equaliser from João Pedro. I was totally shocked. I was looking forward to our second victory of the season, when it wasn't to be. I think we were robbed in some sense. And I suppose we could get into who's at fault and everything like that as well. But let's take it from there, lads. What's your thoughts? We go to you first, Rich. Your thoughts on the game?
I don't know. It was. I think it's harder to take the fact that with a matter of minutes to go, we would be doing the show on a more positive foot sort of thing. I think that's what's harder to take. The fact that it changes the season, so that's now 21 points that we've lost from winning positions this season. That 21 points, that would put us in 9th place, and we would be looking at a completely different window, different season. And that's what we've thrown away as a team. And it's clear to see that the defence is an absolute shambles. I think, the main problem for Newcastle, full stop, is we need a new spine. We need at least one centre-half, possibly two. I think the whole of the entire midfield today were appalling. Don't get me wrong, I think Joe Linton's been a revelation since House came in, and he's been a fantastic in that midfield role. And to be fair, he had a bad day today in that sense. That's since he's been in that role, and fair enough, you can let him off on that. But Longstaff is completely out of his depth now. I think he's lost his confidence, and move is definitely needed for his career and for us as well. I think Joe and Shelby. I think that booking didn't really help. It put him on edge for the rest of the game. Couldn't relax and stuff like that. But to be fair, I think that the main concern about that midfield is there's no quality there. There's no variation in that midfield either. We know we haven't got a recognised ball winner there. We haven't got a quality box-to-box player, and we've got no creative threat out of those three. That's the main issue on that. You could probably make an argument you've got Joe in there as possibly a box-to-box. He can win the balls because he's strong, but you need that to completely change, and you need. You look at just going through some of the stuff today. Dubravka, I thought he didn't really have much to do, if I'm honest with you, and that's one of the frustrating. I mean, we were just talking before, and he made that one good save from Josh King 1-on-1, but bar that, he didn't really have to do anything. So there is a few good things when you look at that sort of thing. What he was called upon to cover balls, he was doing that, and Trippier, quality, calm and display at the back again. You can see, some of the players around him are benefiting from it. I thought Shahat was all right today. To be fair, he wasn't great, but he wasn't shocking like his partner today, where Lascelles just seemed to make mistake upon mistake upon mistake today, and that especially in that ball he gave away in the second half. And to be fair, we should have been punished by Sissoko, and. Yeah. Not that we deserve to go behind or anything like that, but we really should have been. This should have been level when that went in, but it was absolutely awful defending. And how he's still captain, he just needs to go on that one. Dummett, I thought Dummett had a really good. It was good to have, as I said to the lads before, a really good defensive left back for a change. There was. I know the ball came in from that side at the end, but I don't believe that was his fault for that. I think that was more for Almiron not on the runner off the 1-2, and obviously not being up to game speed when he came on. So Dummett was, and the fact that now Lewis is back as well. I think that I wouldn't necessarily be targeting a left back in this window now either. ASM, great goal, but what else did he offer today? I know that once again we didn't really have a cross that came in from that left hand side when we've got a perfect target man in the box. I thought we looked really threatening down the right with the crosses from Trippier and Fraser. I thought Fraser was quite decent until he went off. But the substitutions as well. Murphy, complete waste of a substitution. He doesn't offer anything. He's no threat whatsoever. And as soon as Fraser went off, it seemed to be more that, Howe said as soon as we went up, the one goal that we became that, that old sit back and protect what we've got rather than try to kill the game off, which is what we should have done. And I think that Murphy substitution actually, that makes him guilty as a culprit as well, because I think Murphy's more a defensive player than what Fraser is. And Almiron, I think that change came. It came far too late anyway. I would have put him more in the middle as a replacement for Longstaff to have a bit more legs in the middle and a bit more on the press. But I wouldn't have took Maxi off because he was always dangerous on the break when they were under pressure. And then, of course, he wasn't up to game speed. And that ball, as I mentioned earlier, the ball that came in was because he wasn't the speed. Left his man on the 1-2, and it was a ball straight in. And to be fair, João Pedro should never be winning that ball over Lascelles, ever. He's much smaller than him. He's not as strong as Lascelles. That's just completely bad defending. And unfortunately for Dubravka and the rest of the back four, we got punished, and that's another 2 points wasted. Unfortunately, that we desperately needed, and we would have seen us on the outside the relegation place for the first time in 4 months.
Cheers, Rich. Pete, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, I think it's just really disappointing. Really disappointing that we needed that win today and we didn't get it. I think which he's probably gone for every single player really. So there's not really much.
Sorry, mate.
Individually, no, that's absolutely fine. But there are a few players that I thought played well, and there are a few players that I thought were dreadful. I think it's very, very clear that we need 2 new centre backs. I know Richie said that Sean may have not played as bad as Lascelles, but I think he did. I thought Shaw was awful today. I thought his positioning was really poor. He might have been good on the ball, but positioning is just as important as what you do on the ball as a defender. And I think his positioning from when the ball comes into the box was not good enough. You can argue that Lascelles is at fault for that, and I do think he takes a percentage of responsibility. But I think if Shaw's positioning is better, I think that ball gets cleared. But equally, João Pedro gets a run on Lascelles, and if you're a striker or if you've ever played in defence, you will know that if a striker has got a run on you, no matter how big and tall you are, it is very, very difficult to generate height to get up and win the ball, and that's how he managed to get the header. One thing I'm surprised about is nobody's questioned the goalkeeper, because I think the goalkeeper's really poor for the goal. I think he's caught ball watching. I think he stood still on the ground. He's not on his toes. I think if he's on his toes and he's moving, I think he saves that goal. So I think it's really, really poor goalkeeping. And I think certain question marks need to be put to Martin Dubravka again, because yes, he wasn't called into action very often. Yes, he made one good save, but equally, he wasn't correct in the position when we needed him in order to save that goal on 88 minutes. And with the fact that we didn't have much longer in the game, you would have thought he would have been at his most alert to be on that. Who else? I thought Trippier was outstanding. I think Trippier was the best player on the pitch, and I think the quality really, really did show on the pitch today. And I thought he was very, very good. And I think he didn't deserve to be on a side that on a team that didn't win a game. He was that good. I felt sorry for Chris Wood because it was very, very clear from minute one that for all the qualities that we talked about on the transfer show, all the qualities that Eddie Howe talked about when we signed him and the deal got done, we didn't utilise that one iota today whatsoever. You've got a focal point, which is what we screamed out for against Cambridge, a focal point where you put that ball up to him, you get him to hold the ball up, you get men in and around him. We didn't do it once. I think I counted 4 or 5 times where ASM had the ball on the left-hand side, and you see Woods dropping short to receive it, and he's got his arms out saying, give me the ball in space. And instead, ASM plays a 10-yard ball backwards just to hold possession. Not good enough. Not good enough. And that was in a position where we were winning the game and where we should be pushing for the second ball, or the second goal, should I say. Not good enough. If you're going to pay 25 million for a striker, you utilise your strengths. You put the ball up to him. You make him hold the ball up. You get players in and around him. You get Sean Longstaff running beyond him. You get Alan St-Maximin running beyond him. Ryan Fraser running beyond him. We didn't do that. We didn't do it today. Didn't get enough balls into the box. And when we did, they weren't of the right quality. I just think it was really, really poor. Really, really poor, and how we use certain players and how certain players performed. You could argue that that's why we have Alan St-Maximin in the team, because he comes up with a bit of brilliance. But if you can't do the simple stuff, we're not going to be able to build meaningful attacks because he gives the ball away simple. I thought Ryan Fraser played really well. I thought he was unlucky to be taken off. I think the only reason he was taken off is because he was on a yellow card. Otherwise, I think he'd have stayed on the pitch. I thought he was very, very good today. Joe wasn't great, but equally, I actually thought John Joe Shelby played okay today. I thought he had a good game. I didn't think he played bad at all. I think I noticed it about 15, 20 minutes in. There was at least 2 or 3 occasions where Sean Longstaff was leaving him high and dry time and time again, where John Joe Shelby positionally was in the right place. But when the ball broke and Watford had the ball, he had 2 or 3 men round him, and Sean Longstaff wasn't within 20 yards of him. And as a centre midfielder, you need your partner next to you. It just wasn't good enough from him. So yeah, it really bitterly disappointing. And again, it's a game against the team around us at home where we haven't picked up the 3 points, and that's the biggest disappointment of it all. If you go back to Brentford, to Norwich, to Burnley, okay, we beat Burnley, but if you go back to those games, right, we don't even have to go back to your Southamptons and other games early on in the season. If you go back to those games and you look at, you can even go back to Watford away, but let's say Norwich and Brentford, and we get those points, we get 3 points in those games, we're out of the bottom 3 anyway. And this game today would have been to solidify ourselves out of the bottom 3. So we're talking about all the stuff early on in the season. What we've done recently is still not good enough. And again, this was an opportunity to put that right, to get us out of the bottom 3, finally, and to give us some confidence, the player, the manager, the fans. And it's just been thrown back in our faces again through poor effort and attitude from some of the players. And it's just not good enough. This next week can't come quick enough for me. We need signings and we need them ASAP. I said this to Chris last week, and Chris will agree with me because we had many a voice note on the back of last weekend's result. And I said to him, if by Sunday night, Monday morning, we haven't had a bid accepted for a centre back and we are not finalising that deal come Monday, Tuesday, right, we are in serious problems. We cannot afford to keep getting players signed Thursday into Friday when they've not got time to get ready and get set for this next game and the formation and the way that we play. We cannot afford to do that. These owners, right, have taken on the responsibility of getting these signings done. They need to get these signings done. I don't care how much it is. I don't care if it's 55, 60 million for Botman. Get it done. I don't care if it's 40 million for Diego Carlos. Get it done, because these players are significantly better than what we have. And the reason why we're in this mess is because players like Jamal Lascelles, and Martin bangs on about him, and sometimes I disagree with him, but I 100% agree with him today. He and Fabian Shaw and one or two others need to be out of this team if we're going to get out of this mess, because they are the players that are letting this team down, and they're just lacking of absolute quality at Premier League level. And that it's just the way it is.
Cheers, Pete. Chris, what a show to come back on. It's not a positive one, but go on, tell us your thoughts from the game.
Yeah, I think Rich and Pete really summed it up well. And obviously, you gave us a run through at the start there, Daz. I mean, a couple of things I wanted to touch on. Kieran Trippier, I'll start with the positives. I thought Kieran Trippier was really good today. You can clearly see the quality. I think I said in our WhatsApp chat, you can clearly see he's head and shoulders above the players around him. That touch of class. And I felt sorry for him again today, not picking up the 3 points, because I thought Kieran Trippier played really well. Again, like Pete said, I feel very sorry for Chris Wood. He's just not received anything in that game. He's not been given the opportunity to showcase his talents. And I'm sure all week he's been, they've drilled into him saying, right, you need to do this, you need to do that, we need you to do this, we need you to do that. And nothing was asked of him. Absolutely nothing. So he can't be faulted today. I've just seen Martin in the chat, and I'm gonna echo what the lads have said. The sooner Jamal Lascelles is out of this team, the better. Not just for the goal, which I'd slightly disagree with Pete on that. I'd have to watch the goal back, because I must be honest, I was watching it on a stream. Yeah. And then the goal went in, and I kind of lost my head, and I wasn't watching the replays. And to be fair, the stream was in German actually, so I couldn't really understand what was being said. But my initial reaction when I saw it was Jamal Lascelles, as Pete say, he's let the striker get a run on him, and as soon as you do that, you're in trouble. Now, I'm not saying that Shah's blameless. I'm not saying Dubravka's blameless, because I'd have to properly see it back. But again, Jamal Lascelles, I still blame him the most, because he's the captain. He's the one who should be leading the team. And for me, time and time again today, not just the goal, time and time again today, misplaced passes. There was one point he passed the ball into Trippier, and he had 3 players around him. And to be fair, Trippier got himself out of trouble. But I thought to myself, you're not helping him there. But again, I think it's the lack of awareness. I think I don't think he's got a very good footballing brain, which we've all said for a while now. I think he's got all the skills and all the technical abilities to be a good footballer, but I don't think he's got the football brain. I really don't, and this is what's letting him down. And at this level, you can't get away with not having a footballing brain. For example, a John Joe Shelvey has the footballing brain. But maybe a few of his, skills aren't quite there, in terms of like his fitness and getting about the pitch, his positioning, as Pete said today. I thought Shelby has a pretty decent game. But Longstaff, again, it's the same players getting spoke about all the time. Jamal Sells, Sean Longstaff.
Yeah.
And it's costing us in the middle. It really, really is. And like Pete said, we need these signings in. And if we don't get the signings in, unfortunately, we're going to have to watch this week in, week out. We're coming away again from a home game, from a rival team around us, and we're not picking up the 3 points. And sooner or later, lads, the games are going to run out. We've got now, 18 games left? And we've got Leeds away. And the trouble is, we're down there and we're in the thick of it. But the teams that we're coming up against will fancy it. Leeds will fancy playing us. After watching that today, they will fancy it because we're not given enough. Like the Maxi goal, for example. Like I was screaming the house down when Maxi scored, and then after the game, yeah, you were, Dad, you were. And then after the game, I sat there and I thought, he's not had a good game there, and he hasn't. He's not done enough. He doesn't do enough. He's got that moment of brilliance in him, which is fantastic. But for the other 89 minutes, we just don't see enough from him. And this is the trouble. We can't have passengers in this team. And the frustrating thing is, it's probably quite an easy fix. You're talking at least one, if not two centre-backs. We desperately need a midfielder. We desperately need someone there who's going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and do something. Because in the middle of the park, we've got Joe Linton there. Who's massively improved under Eddie Howe, but again, we can't expect him to have 9, 10 out of 10 games every week. We can't expect it. We need someone next to him and with Shelvey who's going to actually do something. And we need to really start getting the ball into the box. I was saying to the lads pre-show, wasn't I? If I see Jacob Murphy come on again, I think I'll scream because it's just pointless. It's absolutely pointless. I really like the lad. I know he's a Newcastle fan. I want him to do well, but he's not good enough. He's not good enough. He shouldn't be coming on in this game. He's not good enough. So you're never going to get a tune out of him. All right, he might have the odd decent 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever, but he's not good enough. We need to improve this squad because if we carry on the way we are, we're going to run out.
Chris, I'm inclined to agree with you about Jacob Murphy. Just because of the points that you've made. But who would you have brought on alternatively then?
Yeah,
if Jacob Murphy doesn't come on, who would you bring on? Because I think it's a good question, a good point about Jacob Murphy. Because I agree with you, he doesn't offer anything. But equally, I would say neither does Mickey. Because they both do the same thing. They're both electrically fast and they both run with the ball or run off the ball with pace. But what do they actually give you on the ball that's going to help you in a team like Eddie Howe's that actually is progressive and he likes possession and he likes to play and pass and move? Neither of them play like that. Neither of them know how to play that type of football. So this is not. I'm just asking the question: who would you put on as an alternative?
Do you know who I would, Pete? Do you know who I would? And it's going back to when he actually first joined at the club, and he's been playing on the opposite flank this season. He's been creating the most assists, the most chances this is. I'd have put Matt Ritchie back on there as a sub, playing back on the right where he used to play when he first came at the club. You know you're going to get that service we were dying out for in the second half for Wood, because Wood got no service, as you said. The second half, he was abandoned. As soon as we got that goal, we went into our shell. He got not one ball for Wood to fight for in that second half. And Murphy very, very rarely puts a ball in. I would have probably went for someone like Matt Ritchie. Put him back. He plays on the right. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it is the right move. I'm just trying to come up with a suggestion, what we would do. If me and you were sitting on the bench coaching that team, we would probably be discussing this and saying, who's going to give us something bar Murphy? And that's exactly what you say with this point. And
he was the guy I had in mind. Matt Ritchie. I'm not saying that Murphy, is any worse or any better than Matt Ritchie. We know Matt Ritchie's flaws, particularly in defensively. But for me, it wasn't even about the crosses for Wood. It was about the leadership. It's about being able to see out a game. And if you've got a leader, someone that's going to talk and go on and demand more from his players, we talk about it all the time on Loaded. We talk about his leadership ability. We talk about the lack of defensive prowess in his positional play. We know that.
See, one thing,
put him on and lead the team through the rest of the game. Lead by example, the running, the pressing. Yes, he can
verbal as well.
Of course, talk to the players. That was that and so I agree with you, Richie. But that was the reason why I would have suggested Richie to come on for the leadership.
Do you know what else I think I'd put out as a suggestion there, right? I think we need to get rid of this 4-3-3 because I don't think it plays to our strength with the people we've got currently. I'd be more tempted to actually go, like we've said for a long, long time on this channel, if we're going to play 4 at the back, you've got to play a 4-2-3-1. And we've said this for a long time on here. I would probably play Joe alongside Shelby if you're going to play those two. I'm going on what we've got currently, not who possibly could be coming in or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably play ASM in the 10 role. And the reason being is you can give him a free role because there was quite a few times today. I don't know whether any of you noticed when sometimes you had Fraser and ASM on the same flank. They were switching, and then you had no outlet on the other side when the ball. You had two there, and then all of a sudden you're working the ball the other way. Then you haven't got anybody to come in from that flank. It was just stupid. I would play ASM and give him a free role in that number 10 behind Wood or Wilson if he's fit or whatever. And I would probably put Richie on the left and Fraser on the right. You've got two classic, wingers, right wing, midfield, left wing, whatever you want to call them, right midfielders. And you know you're going to get balls in that box for Wood. Every single time he's going to be thereabouts, and you'll have Miggy in and around. Sorry, not Miggy. ASM in and around and coming in, and hopefully Joe's coming into the box because he seems to like the better coming onto the ball rather than trying to create something. That's if we were stuck with this team now. That's how I would change it because with Richie going onto the left as a left midfielder, you've got two solid fullbacks behind. I'm not literally concerned about doing the overlaps like Richie has been, and then getting caught out with ASM not tracking back if there's an overlap coming. Say ASM's lost the ball and we've got people out. You've got a good left back now who's good for defending. If you wanted to play against a weaker team who you want to really attack, possibly use Lewis's left back rather than give it a bit more of an attacking threat to try and break a team down. But for me, left back and right back now, we've got those two solid players now. As I said before, I wouldn't look at going as a left back to buy because I think with Dummett, as long as he can stay fit, and Lewis, you've got a good two options in that position now. And if worse comes to worse, you've got Richie who can drop back. But I just think that gives us a bit more of an attack and threatened a ball supply for Wood in the middle because it was so predictable. There was no balls coming from that left-hand side. It was easy to defend from the opposition. Full stop.
Cool, Rich. I just want to say my little piece on a few things I noted as well. It ties in with some of the things you said and a bit contradictory, I suppose, as well. But yeah, I agree with Pete. What Pete was saying, the use of Wood. They didn't use the big man at all. We bought a big man. We didn't really use him. I like the partnership that Trippier and Fraser were having. That looks positive going forward. I think we need some. I was saying in our WhatsApp chat as well. We need someone, a creative number 8 there. Like we have Shelby that sits so deep and is creative from deep. But we've no one then like it. And I'm pinpointing Longstaff here as the player to be replaced. Someone that can number 8 that can hit that killer pass. Then and we will get to our man the match selection later in the show. But just one last bit before we take some questions. For me, the standouts were Trippier, Dummett, Fraser, and Joe Linton. And I know that's contradictory to what you said, Pete. But I thought Joe Linton still put in a shift. Okay, maybe not as good as previous games, but still solid. But I suppose I'm still not used of what this new thing he offers us. So. That's one thing to note. Let's get to a question. And let's take the last one. Mike's question. Question, lads. Honestly, do you think Howe is the right man, especially if we go down? Pete, we'll go to you first for that one.
It's a question that's been kind of going around social media after another sort of poor defeat, and there's arguments to say that fingers should be pointed at him. But I'll go back to the point of when he took on the job. We knew that this group of players weren't good enough. We knew that they weren't, and we were hoping that Eddie Howe would be able to coach these players to play better. He's certainly coached them to try and play a different style of football, but it's very, very clear that some of these players are not going to get any better. They're just not good enough. And it doesn't matter how much you coach these players, then they're not going to get any better. Jamal Lascelles is not going to be a better ball playing centre back than what we've already seen from him in the last 5 years. You're not going to get him playing any better. Fabian Shaw isn't going to get any better. There was arguments about he could never play in a two. He's had some okay games in a two, but still we're conceding goals. Still positional play is not right. I've looked at the goal again today that we conceded. You know, he's in front of the 6-yard box, which is a centre back you shouldn't be doing when you're receiving a ball into the box. No matter how good you are on the ball, you need to be able to defend as well.
Do you not think he's on the wrong side though, Pete? Because he's normally a right centre back of 3, but because Lascelles can't play on the left, Shaw's had to go on the other side of the pitch. I just think do you not think we're too accommodating for Lascelles, full stop?
Yeah, I agree. I do. I think we are accommodating to him, but we're accommodating to him because we have to be. You know, if we'd have paid up the money by now, we could have had a centre back in where we didn't need to be accommodating to him. And I think as soon as a centre back or two do come into the team, we won't be accommodating to him. But so I take that point and I agree with it 100%. But Fabian Shaw can play on the left hand side. It doesn't matter to him what side he's played. He's played many a game on the left hand side of a back 2 and a back 3. So he knows he can play there. But for me, I just think there are certain players that can't be coached anymore. I think Fabian Shaw will leave the club, and I think half of his mindset is the fact that he's leaving the club regardless at the end of the season. Jamal Lascelles is not a footballer. He's not a footballer. For me, it's not about leadership or captain. He's just not a footballer. He's an athlete, but he cannot play football. And that's the big problem with Jamal Lascelles. And that's why Jamal Lascelles hit his ceiling 2 years ago, or maybe even before then, 3 years ago. He hit his ceiling in terms of his performances, but he is not a footballer. And a footballer gradually gets better and learns as they get older. He just isn't, and he's going to get worse. So the quicker we get centre-backs in, the better. I think Sean Longstaff's not going to get any better, in my opinion. At Newcastle United, he may go on to another team and play well there, but he's not going to get any better for me. And there's a few others in this squad that are not going to get any better. We've already talked about Jacob Murphy, Matt Ritchie. They're just not. And until you replace these players, and a few people have said this, and I agree with it on social media, these players need to be replaced now. They can't be coached anymore. They just need to be replaced with better players. And, you know, if we go and get another 5 players in this window to replace some of those players and take them out of the team, I guarantee you will see better performances from this team. I guarantee you we will pick up points against teams that we don't expect to pick up points against, because these players that we bring in will be significantly better than what we have currently, and that's what we need to do now. And it goes back to my point that me and Chris talked about last week, is that I expect movement tomorrow. I expect movement on players tomorrow. If we don't hear movement tomorrow, the guys that are taking control of the transfers are not moving quick enough. Put the money down. Tell them that we'll pay the money, whatever they want, to get these players into Newcastle. We're not in a position to bargain. We're not in a position to try and skimp and save a few million here, a few million there. We're not in a position to feel uncomfortable about being kind of bent over in terms of how much we're paying out. We're not in that position to. We're fighting for our lives. We stay in this league this season, we get to build the Newcastle that we all want. that we all want to see, that is capable of challenging at the top end of the table. So maybe paying an extra 20, 30 million this window could well be more than worth it. And actually, it will seem like a snip in years to come. If we do it, we need to get it done.
And we've got 16 days to do it, to get these players in. Let's take one more question. You know what? No, yeah, we will take another question because we'll link it up to the Norwich result. Norwich got a win over, and we'll link it all up together because there's talk of Rafa in the chat as well. Everything got beaten today. Norwich won 2-1, and we've got one of the questions asking Norwich from Joe Linton. Did Norwich have a better squad than ours? No, they don't. Is my answer. But Dean Smith is getting something from them since he's gone there. If we finish below Norwich, that means we're relegated. Because Norwich are going down as well, in my opinion. So, and any thoughts on Norwich, or anyone care, or anyone on the Rafa subject? Because people are asking about bringing Rafa back in some capacity. It's for me, that ship has sailed.
I'll jump in on Rafa. Yeah, I don't think we should bring Rafa back at all. I think we had a good time under Rafa. I wish he'd stayed at the time. But I think we've got to move on. I really do. And I don't think, and some people may not like this, I don't think Rafa Benitez is going to come in and sort this team out. I really don't. Like Peter's correctly said, we have, unfortunately, a team of championship players that have managed to stumble their way to Premiership safety over the past couple of seasons, God knows how. And unfortunately, now we're starting to see certain players down in tools, or evidently showing that they're not good enough. And the trouble now is, I suppose, and I think the reason that this is happening is because a lot of those players will be looking in the mirror after the match and going, I'm not going to be here in 6 months, 12 months. So am I really that bothered? And I think that's the issue. I really believe that is the issue. I don't think the players, certain players are given 110% because they know they haven't got a future at the club. So as you know, as we've said, we need to bring these new players in quick, because there's certain positions on that football pitch where we are sadly lacking, and we come up against any half decent team and they will constantly tear us a new one. It's going to keep happening, game after game after game. Eddie Howe isn't a miracle worker. You could bring in, I don't know, you could bring in bloody Alex Ferguson, or you could bring in Bobby Robson, or you could bring in some of the best managers that have been out there. You still wouldn't get a tune out of some of these players. I really believe that. I unfortunately think that until we improve the personnel on the pitch, it doesn't matter who's in charge. We're destined for the drop. And the sooner we get these players in, the better.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. Okay, let's look forward for a second.
Just before we move on, Dan, sorry, Rich, have you got something you want to say on Rafa? Because I certainly have.
No, I've got another point after Rafa. All I can say is regards Rafa is that ship sailed. Move on.
Yeah. Two points with regards to Rafa Benitez. Fuck Rafa Benitez. Okay. Fuck him. I don't care. Okay. Not interested in Rafa Benitez at all. Right. He had his opportunity to wait for us. He chose not to. As Richie's just said, that ship sailed. And you know what? The talk about Rafa Benitez and bringing Rafa back, I think it's a massive disrespect to Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe is our manager, right? And Eddie Howe took on this project, right, when no other manager wanted to take on this project. No other manager wanted this. Eddie Howe did. And you know what? I've got 100% faith that Eddie Howe will turn this around when he's had an opportunity to bring the players that he wants in. I just think it's massively disrespectful. This Rafa Benitez talk's ridiculous. This director of football, Rafa Benitez, fuck Rafa Benitez. I don't give a damn about him. I don't give a damn about him whatsoever. It's about Eddie Howe and respecting Eddie Howe, right, and getting the best out of these players and the players that come in to stay in the league. That's what we need to do: is get behind Eddie Howe. Forget the Rafa Benitez talk.
That's it. Put to bed. No more talk about Rafa Benitez on this channel ever again. Richie, let's get in with your point before I look to the future.
It's a little bit about the future to be actually, but what I wanted to touch on everyone's saying, I've seen some people say, oh, look, it doesn't matter. You know, if we beat Leeds next week, we can still be out the relegation zone and stuff like that. That's not actually true, because depending on what happens regards to fixtures and stuff like this, there is a huge potential fixture, depending on whether the COVID cases with Burnley come about or for this weekend, because due on Tuesday night, Burnley are due to play Watford at home. So what I wanted to ask the lads was, what result would you take in that fixture? Because a Watford win would put them 5 points ahead of us before we even kick a ball on Saturday against Leeds.
I suppose draw, really. I'd probably take a draw, Rich, only because obviously, you know, both teams gaining a point. Obviously, I don't want Burnley to gain points, but like Daz said earlier, which is absolutely spot on, Norwich are down. You know, Dean Smith's got a fantastic result today, and you know, good luck to them. Against, by the way, a very poor Everton side under Rafa Benitez. Again, I know we weren't going to touch back on them, but Everton are in massive trouble. And don't forget, you know, all the money that Everton have spent. They've got some really good players in there. So you know, there's a lot of pressure on them as well. Not just us, a lot of pressure on them. But yeah, for me, Rich, I think a draw would probably be the best outcome. If you had to force me, for one of them to win, I'd probably, and this will sound mad, I would probably say I'd want Watford to win, because with Burnley, I don't want them to get any kind of run going. Whereas with Watford, I still don't think they're going to have enough. Because after watching them today, Rich, you've got to be honest. Watford are fucking awful.
If you actually look, Jolly Toonville's raising a point, and this is what Watford have actually pretty much got their season in the next 3 games. They had us today. They've got Burnley on Tuesday, and they've got Norwich next week. So that's technically the bottom 3 for Watford. Everyone below them, and then that's it gone. Every single team above them, you're talking top half of the table, or teams that you'd expect to beat them anyway.
Yeah. I mean, even if, let's say devil's advocate, Rich, even if they beat Burnley and Norwich, let's say they do, that'll put them on what? How many points is that? Will that put them on 22? Was that right?
If they beat...
If you're in that table...
They're on 14. They're on 14. They'll put them on 20. Put
them on 20, right. And then they've had that nice run, and they've picked up 7 points from ourselves, Burnley, and... who was the other team? Sorry.
They play Norwich. There's Norwich, Burnley, then we've got Leeds, and then obviously there's Everton. They're probably the only 2 teams that might get dragged into it, but obviously they've got a bit of a head start on us. Yeah. So, but Watford win the next 2, they go to 20 points.
Yeah, but again, it's still they've once they've had that nice run, they're then going to start facing more difficult teams. And based on what I've seen from Watford today, they're in as much shit as what we are. You know, we had the Watford lads on the other day, didn't we, Pete? And they were saying that they can't keep clean sheets, and that's a big problem for them. And the big advantage that we have over other teams at the moment, lads, as we all know, is we can go in that transfer window and we can make a change. We can actually do something about our team, whereas other clubs around us haven't got that option. So
the thing is, though, play devil's advocate here about trying to get new signings, and obviously we can hire as much money as possible to, you know, as players. But if Watford win on Tuesday and then win on Saturday as well, and obviously we could still beat Leeds, there's still a big gap, and you've got to then sell that. You know, you need at least 2 wins to even get out of it. So that's the, you know, I'm trying to play devil's advocate whether Watford have got, you know, played the bottom 3 or whatever. It's then selling a 5-point deficit to players that you want to come in.
Yeah, but I'm going to speak the bleeding obvious here, but there's nothing we can do about it. All we can do about is our own, is about Newcastle and getting our own points and concentrating on our own game and bringing the players in. Really, as Pete hit the nail on the head earlier, these 16 days we need to make signings, and we need loan signings. We need to patch up our squad and go again and bring in the tweaks that gets us winning a game rather than throwing it away on the 88th minute. But look, do you want to talk any more about the game against Leeds, lads, or what do you want to do?
I don't want to talk about Leeds as such. I mean, it's a massive game. I'm sure we'll get into it during the week, but I'm watching that goal again. I'm watching that goal back again, and I'm finding it difficult to pinpoint where Lascelles has made a mistake, where Lascelles is at fault for that goal. If you watch João Pedro, he ghosts past Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff doesn't track him.
Shock.
Then Trippier's marking him. He gets the run on Trippier and the run on Jamal Lascelles. Jamal Lascelles doesn't even know he's there until he goes to contest the header, and he's already above him. I'm finding it really difficult to if someone in the chat or somebody can point out where Lascelles is at fault for that goal. I'm finding it really difficult to kind of pinpoint Lascelles as being responsible for that goal. Yes, he contests the ball with João Pedro, but João Pedro comes from behind him, has already got the jump on him, and wins the header. So I'm finding out. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone put it on the chat. Someone DM me or message me on Twitter later and put it out where Lascelles is at fault, because I'm finding it really difficult to put it at fault. I mean, I've watched it back probably about 8 times since we've been on the show. Watched it back again. I'm looking at Sean Longstaff. I'm looking at Kieran Trippier, that both concede João Pedro when the ball breaks, because from when the clip shows the play starting, João Pedro is the one that plays the ball. He plays the ball in front of Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff just lets him ghost behind him. I find it really difficult there. Really difficult. I've got my coach's heading on my coach heading on there, and I'm finding it really difficult. Look, Jamal Lascelles hasn't been good enough. He's not a good enough defender. I've made that point clear. But I'm not going to be one that's just going to point the finger at someone because I don't like them. Yeah. If they've not made a mistake, I'm not going to kind of point the finger and say, yeah, it was his fault. It's his fault because I don't like the player. If it's not his fault, it's not his fault. And it doesn't look like it's his fault there. So I'm not going to go hard on him for that particular goal.
Now you've watched it back, Pete, a few times. I wanna watch it back later, so I will do that. But now you've watched it back, are you still feeling the same about Dubravka? Just out of interest, again, I've not seen it a few times.
Just still feel the same. I just said that a second ago. Stood still, caught watching. As a goalkeeper, you're always taught to be on your toes, especially as soon as the ball comes into the box. On your toes. Sometimes you see goals, for example, when they go in. Like if you look at if you watch the game today, Man City Chelsea. Okay, De Bruyne's goal that he scores. If you watch the clip from behind the goal, if you look at Kepa's on the move. He's on his toes, and actually he takes a couple of steps to the right, to his right, which actually stops him from getting back to win the ball. But what it shows, he's got anticipation. He's got anticipation because he's waiting for someone to hit the shot. He's waiting for De Bruyne to hit the shot, and so he's just got caught the wrong side. But he's actually looking to angle to move to actually go and save the ball. If you look at Dubravka, he stood still. As a goalkeeper, if that ball's getting into the box, you should be on your toes anticipating either the left or the right. If it had took 2 steps to the left and then not been able to get back, I would have understood that and I've gone, you know what, fair enough, because he's anticipated it. The fact that he stood still and he's like a rock, not moving, and then try to dive, he's not going to get anywhere near it because he's not got those couple of steps in order to be able to spring himself to make the save. And for me, that's poor goalkeeping. As a 33-year-old today, as a goalkeeper that just turned 33, played at internationals, played at the Euros, I expect better. I love Dubravka. I love him as a goalkeeper. I've backed him so many times over the years as one of the top goalkeepers in the Premier League. But that needs to be better. We're playing in the Premier League. We're playing for our lives. Those little details need to be better. They have to be.
Lads, I'm going to ask one last question. And you don't have to answer if you don't want it. But man of the match from today, I'm going to say Dummett.
I'll say Trippier.
Pete?
I'm struggling to see past Kieran Trippier, to be honest. He was just an outstanding player. Dummett's a great shout too, because Paul Dummett, with the amount of time he's come back in to play that well after barely having any training or playing regularly, fair play to him. But yeah, Kieran Trippier was a class above.
Yeah, he was my second pick. Chris?
Yeah, same. Kieran Trippier all day. And yeah, I've a really good point though about Dummett. You know, he's been out for such a long time, and he just slotted right back in there, in left back. But yeah, I thought Dummett played well. And yeah, I also feel, like I said before, I also feel a little bit sorry for Bud, because he probably didn't envisage his debut turning out like that. And you can't even say it's, you know, he missed 3 or 4 chances because he just didn't get those chances. So yeah, I feel sorry for him. But yeah, Kieran Trippier, definitely. If we had another 4 or 5 players with the same qualities or same technical ability as Kieran Trippier, we'd have won that game today.
Cool. Cheers, Chris. I think we're going to round out for the night. I just want to say shout out to our sponsor, Black and White Army. Log on to blackandwhitearmy.com. The limited collection is still there from Bronwyn. So check that out. If you haven't subscribed already, why not? It's free. There's a red button down the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It says subscribe. It's free. Get us to 3K. Also, there's an option for a membership as well, $1.99. It'll get you into on the big wheel for the prize, the sponsor prize each month. And yeah, catch up on shows. Last night, Richie and Martin were talking to Gavin Peacock. So catch up on that. Of course, we had the Fully Loaded Transfer show as well, which is another excellent show there on Thursday night. And to take your pick from all the players we talked about there, and the more that.
I was going to say, if there's anything that's going to take your mind off that shower shit,
yeah.
I was trying to put a smile on your face, Pete. It worked. Yes. Mission accomplished.
I was say, Pete, and what's happening this Fully Loaded Transfer with show on Thursday?
I'm zipping my mouth, but everybody in the chat.
Gotta watch it.
260 odd watching the show, so massive thanks for tonight. But yeah, as Richie's rightly said, keep an eye out on your Twitter for the announcement Thursday on who should be joining the show. Fingers crossed. It'll all be.
It's a must-watch live as well.
Yeah, we can't say until the Thursday morning. So yeah,
Thursday, possibly Thursday night.
Yeah, and it mightn't happen this week either, but we're all fingers crossed that it does. So yeah, that's one to look forward to, and we got a smile on Pete's face. So that's the main thing. Look, we're going to leave it there for the night. Thanks for everyone for joining the chat, joining along, chatting amongst yourselves, chatting to us, putting questions our way. It wasn't to be today. It's all I asked for on my birthday tomorrow was 3 points. It didn't happen. I'll have to wait till next week. Good night, everyone. See you later.
See you guys.
Nice.